सब पीछे रखो ना बेटा. Online friends, please confirm that you can hear me. Just type a yes if you can. Yeah, thank you. Hello friends. Let's shut our eyes for a moment. So, pass on the mic. Yes. Please tell us what we studied in the last lecture.
Criticisms of the
Raise your hand. Yes.
criticisms of the functionalism.
Yes. What are some criticisms?
The functionalists are criticized for painting a too rosy and a harmonious picture of the social life. Marxists, they are criticized for this only, whereas the social life is equally characterized by the conflict, oppression, exploitation.
Thank you. Pass on. Yes. What other criticisms?
They emphasize the continuity, sir, but
Continuity, less emphasis on change. Yes. Pass on. What other criticisms? Just to clarify there, change was not neglected altogether in functional theory, right? It's only that their overall orientation focuses more on explaining continuity rather than change. Some functional theorists, like Parsons, they do go an extra mile trying to explain how changes take place in society. But then when they analyze change, they see change largely as harmonious, gradual, incremental, right? And they typically fail to account for radical change, revolutionary change, violent changes in society. Yes, please continue.
they were
Status quoist.
not reformist.
Yes. Thank you. What do you mean by status quoist?
Status at the present.
Yes, that it should be maintained. It shouldn't change. Thank you. Pass on. What else?
Mirrors the view of dominant sections.
Yes, their writings reflect the views of the dominant sections of the society. Can you elaborate on that a bit? Why do you say so?
But they wanted not change. They are conservative.
All right, fine. Pass on. Thank you. What else?
They are accused of teleology and pathology.
You picked up a difficult one. Explain. Explain teleology.
They have confused causes with functions and functions with causes.
Yes, and that is a tautology. What he just said. What he just said is a tautology. He said they confuse causes with functions and he should have stopped there. And then he goes on to say, and they confuse functions with causes. Okay? The explanation is of teleology, but he engaged in a tautology. Live example. Chaliye. Pass on. What else?
The is a cultural too.
What do you mean by that?
It means the individual is entirely, they are controlled by the society.
Yes. Very good. Pass it on. Yes, what else we discuss next?
So we discussed that the functionalists think that there is value built in the society.
Yes.
So by that I mean that, for example, the Brahminical value preferences were thrusted upon lower section of the society.
Or were assumed by the functional theorists to be the values of the whole of the Hindu society.
Exactly.
Yes.
Apart from that, we discussed about Emile Durkheim.
Yes, thank you. Pass on. So, yes?
Durkheim on religion.
Yes, we discussed his views on religion.
He divided society into two parts, the sacred and
What was the name of the book authored by Durkheim on religion?
elementary form of religious life.
Elementary forms of religious life. ठीक है. Pass on. What are those two categories he was speaking of?
He was speaking of, he divided the society into two forms, sacred and profane.
Sacred and profane. What do you mean by these two terms?
The sacred, according to him, was anything that is set apart, and anything that is not sacred is profane.
Correct. And we should say set apart and forbidden. Rat lo thoda sa to hai. You know, it's not too difficult also. It sounds more complete that way. Yeah? ठीक है. Pass it on. And please raise your hands where the mic is. Oh, that's a revelation. Okay. So, tell me what is the relationship, some characteristics of sacred and profane?
With things which are set apart and forbidden, certain rules are made. Rules are made for to approach them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Pass it on. Which is more useful, sacred or profane? Yes, louder. Yes? Huh.
The profane is more useful.
Not. We can say it's not that. It's not necessarily that sacred is always more useful. Huh? Or sacredness has got nothing to do with utility. Simply.
So relatively, profane is more useful, but
maybe more useful.
yes.
है ना? ठीक है. Good. But sacred is superior in terms of what? Let him. Let him.
Like it influences people very much.
Okay, so it is superior in terms of
Power, we can say.
power and dignity. Yes. Pass it on. Thank you. What we studied next? Is that where we stopped pretty much, roughly? Huh? So tell me some intellectual influences on early sociology. I am running out of questions, but I just want you guys to be on your toes. Any two intellectual influences on early sociology? Quickly. Okay. One more. What was counter-enlightenment thought? Pass it on and please revise. Name two counter-enlightenment scholars.
Leonard and
Proud of you. Half proud. D. Bonald and? हाँ बिल्कुल D. Maistre. Absolutely. Chalo, thank you. Thank you. Any doubts, my online students? A question is asked by a student. I'll read the question, then we will together answer that. While discussing intellectual influences on early sociology, we have a point that belief in the notion of progress and perfectibility of human institutions. How is this point relevant in influences? Simply, why it is an important influence, we say, on early sociology, because the writings of the early sociologists, the founding fathers, they also carried this notion of progress and perfectibility. All the evolutionary schemes that were developed by the early sociologists, whether a Comte, a Spencer, or a Marx, they contained this notion of progress and perfectibility. That is why we call it or consider it an important influence on early sociology. So I hope that is answered. how Weber's interpretative method is different from the positivist approach in the study of social phenomena. That's another question which is asked. We have not yet studied Weber's interpretative approach at length. We have only studied Weber in the context of criticizing positivism. What interpretive approaches we will be studying later on. Yeah? As also other theories like symbolic interactionism, phenomenology and ethnomethodology. One very eternal kind of a question. Will it suffice if we refer only to Sangwan and class notes? Or is it necessary to refer to coaching material or Harlambos? How many of you are kind of fighting with that kind of thought? I appreciate. Class notes will be quite comprehensive. If you are making down detailed notes, they will be quite comprehensive. Sangwan is a very handy reference book, topic-wise. These two are a must. But given that we still have a decent amount of time before the next examination, it is quite advisable that either Harlambos or the institute material be referred to very, very selectively. As per the pages which has been shared with you, very, very few pages. Right? If you are referring the institute material, that is of course topic wise, so you can glance through it. But Harlambos, if you are referring, very, very selectively. So that is on that. In simple language, if you can afford the time, it is advisable that you refer to the source other than class notes and Sangwan. Right? But then again, we are not living in an ideal world. You have to take a practical call depending on where you stand in your GS preparation and the whole of UPSC. UPSC is not only about sociology. Okay? Then between blue and green Harlambos, which one to take up? Both are same. Only the color is different. Orange is different, we don't have to take that. Okay, an interesting question, the way I see it. Sir, what if the subject is not neutral, though the researcher is neutral? When we are talking about objectivity, it is in that context. What if the subject he is saying is not neutral, though the researcher is neutral? How do you answer that? Is such a research project characterized by objectivity, will you say? The answer is no. And the reason is, who chooses the subject? Who words the research topic? It is the researcher. Are you with me? So, if the language of the research topic itself is very loaded, then it clearly reflects the biases of the researcher. Even though in subsequent research, he may claim that I have not let my biases influence the data collection or the other steps. Are you with me? What is the meaning of the word impunity? Impunity means without any punishment or without any negative consequences. Carefreely, without any care, you can casually simply approach things with impunity. Chaliye. Doubts of the offline students, classroom. Yes, brother. What was the last part of your sentence? I missed that. हाँ, ठीक है. So, I'll just try to paraphrase his question once. He is saying that in his view, or what one derives from a reading of the early sociologists like Comte and Marx, etc., is that Europe indeed was the only place where modernity emerged. Do I read you correctly? Huh? And it did not emerge elsewhere. And if you take the views of the say subaltern theorists or other later strands who argue that even Europe cannot even be considered as the first place. If we have to challenge that it was the only place, then it is also not the first place where modernity emerged. The fact that modernity emerged in Europe is by and large very well accepted. Okay? Across a very great variety of scholars, except some who would challenge that, but the very textbook definition of modernity is the kind of society which emerged in Western Europe after the French and Industrial Revolutions. That is that. However, on the question of it remaining the only place, one cannot conclude so simply from a reading of Marx or a Comte. Reason being, A, they were also creatures of their own time. In other words, their views are also criticized as being ethnocentric or kind of narrow in that sense. Their basically writings were mainly Eurocentric. Karl Marx, for instance, he considered colonial rule to be somewhat of a liberating force for India, a progressive force for India, and that was simply a restatement of the European or the British view of pre-colonial India as backward, etc. However, the historical trajectory of the spread of modernity tells us that Europe was decidedly the first place, but it clearly wasn't the only one.
It is the only way, sir. For example, if we take the example of COVID. Sir, COVID emerged in China. Though it has spread to other parts of the world, we cannot say that COVID emerged in India or in America. Sir, emergence and spreading are two different things. Sir, when we talk about the new scholars, they are saying that there is a final definition of modernity. There are various discourses around modernity, but no one negates the fact that Europe is the first and only place where modernity is.
Your argument now, the way I understand it, is that modernity spread to other parts of the world. It did not emerge independently in other parts of the world.
Yes.
Huh?
Sir, according to this, sir, we cannot say that modernity, Europe is the only place where modernity is. Sir, it is the only place where modernity is.
One could argue that way. That is a very legitimate, I would say, argument. Huh? No, it is. You are right. It is not necessary that you give both sides. But the argument that we had given yesterday was not that you give both sides, but that you bifurcate the question and address these two parts separately. But your argument is cogent, I would say. It can be structured that way as well. But what the answer we had discussed yesterday also would pass merit. No, but his point is well taken. You can argue that it emerged only in Europe and later European modernity spread to other parts through colonization, through Christian missionaries and various such things. Yes. Yes. The emphasis on? There isn't much. It is pretty much a similar thing. When we are talking about, when you are using a term status quoist, it is more value laden. It is more loaded kind of a term. It is suggesting that they are somewhat biased. When we are saying that they are focusing on continuity, we are implying that the theory is somewhat partial in explaining social reality. That it kind of fails to fully explain changes, particularly radical and violent kind of changes. So They are related, of course, and similar, but on two different dimensions we are making those criticisms. Yes. Yes. There was another hand here. Tautology, somebody, brother?
Sir, tautology is basically...
Louder so that she can hear.
Sir, tautology is basically like first, like sociologists, like these sociologists mix the things like functions and causes together. Firstly,
She is correcting him, please correct him fully. You're right, he is not on the right track. What is tautology? Brother? Loud so that she can hear you.
Tautology is more about adding any superfluous.
When you are seemingly offering an explanation or a detailed this thing, but in actuality you are not really adding much value. So you are only adding superfluous words without adding content or this thing. A lot of you might do it in the answer sheets. You know, when you have limited content, you will keep repeating the same thing in different ways. So in functionalism also one tends to do that without adding much in terms of knowledge or content, you are giving a circular reasoning and, thereby not making the reader any wiser or offering a detailed explanation, only claiming to do so. That is tautology. Chale? Sorry? No. It is not same research done by different scientists. That is verification, okay, which is an integral, important part of the scientific method. It simply means when a scholar or a theorist, he is giving an explanation using many words or certain phrases and concepts which do not really explain the thing he claims he is explaining. He is simply using a different set of words to explain them, or he is giving a circular reasoning. Let us proceed with your permission. Okay. Example of teleology. We discussed something. Religion. We discussed religion. That religion, the causes of the emergence of religion would lie at that point in human history when religion arose. The functions would be separate, meaning what positive consequences is religion having for the community. We will discuss today in Durkheim. He talks about the functions of religion. And if a scholar equates the two, he says religion arose in order to fulfill these functions. In other words, the functions are assumed to be the causes for the emergence of religion. That is teleology. Yeah? Chaliye. Now, with your kind permission, let us move ahead. And we had discussed Durkheim, that central to Durkheim's theory of religion was his concepts of sacred and profane. And religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to profane things, right? Related to sacred things. Yes. Chaliye. You don't need to draw. Okay? This is just for illustration. So, in order to devise his theory of religion, Durkheim studied the Arunta tribe of Australia. We were done. We did discuss. Now we are proceeding. We have discussed the centrality of the concept of sacred in Durkheim's theory of religion. Now I am moving ahead with his theory of religion further. So in order to form his theory, he studied the Arunta tribe of Australia. It's an aboriginal tribe. Thank you. Australian Aborigines are who? They are the native inhabitants of the Australian landmass who were basically when the white men they came and looted all the land. These guys were sidelined and, wiped out pretty much. So they were the original inhabitants there of the Australian landmass. Now let us try to appreciate the nature of Arunta society, how this Arunta tribal society was organized. It was a very simple kind of a society. Simple in the sense the technology was very simple. The level of, there was no high level of complexity simply. Population is small. Religious practices are very, very rudimentary. What they are, we'll discuss. It was a simple and primitive society. The Arunta tribe, friends, was divided into exogamous clans. Exogamy means what? Exogamous. Gamy means marriage. Monogamy, one marriage. Polygamy, many marriages. So gamy is a suffix which means marriage. Exo means what? You must have studied exogenous processes or something, reactions in your science and technology. So exo means outside, right? So marrying outside of a social group, that is the rule of exogamy. Okay. So these were exogamous clans. When we say exogamous clans means they had to marry, a member of one clan will marry the member of same clan or another clan? Another clan. Clear? One marriage rule that we talk about in societies is exogamy. You have to marry outside of the group. Another opposite rule is endogamy, meaning that you have to marry within the group. I'm just digressing slightly to explain you the meaning, right? In Indian society, we have caste, endogamy or exogamy? Endogamy, meaning we have to marry within our own caste. Do we also have exogamy? What? Gotra exogamy. Meaning a person will marry another person of the same caste and of a different gotra. So like we have gotra exogamy, the Arunta tribe was divided into several exogamous clans, what you can consider as gotras. Okay, you don't write that, but similarly gotras are also exogamous clans. But gotra is an Indian term. Arunta society was divided into several exogamous clans. Each clan had its own symbol. Each clan had its own separate symbol. That symbol was called totem. T-O-T-E-M. Each clan had its own totem or symbol. Now these totems, they were typically plant or animal, from the plant and animal kingdom. So in the Arunta society, hypothetically, you may have a lion clan, lizard clan, tulsi clan, or whichever trees you have, right? Something like that. You would have different plant and animal symbols representing different clans. So let us say we are the Arunta society. Okay, you guys are lions. You guys are lizards. You guys are eucalyptus tree. Okay. So if a lion has to marry, where will the lion marry? Who will a lion marry? Another lion or a lizard or a eucalyptus? Lizard or eucalyptus. Okay. So that is the meaning of exogamy. Now this symbol of the clan, the totem, was carved on their respective flags. Clans had separate flags. It doesn't sound very different from what we have seen in our societies also. Yes or no? Now, the totem, Durkheim observed. I hope everybody is all right. There was some, yeah, I really do. Yeah. So, the totem or the symbol of the clan was also carved on the chirunga. Chirunga. What's a chirunga? That is the chirunga. Okay. It's a very simple object. It's a piece of wood, and at one end a thread is tied. Thread kind of a thing is tied. Okay. And on that piece of wood, the symbol of the clan is carved out or painted, whatever. So these are the, what do you call, which clans? Snake clan and Kekda. Tortoise. Okay, tortoise clan. Huh? These are the chirungas. Chirungas are also called bull roarers, or there's something like a bull roarer. Bull roarer. Why is it called a bull roarer? Because when the thread, when this object is swirled like this, it cuts through the air and makes a roaring sound like a bull. Okay, I don't know which bull roars, but that's how it got a name, bull roarer. Okay, it's a chirunga. Let's call it a chirunga. Now, this chirunga, it plays a very important role in their religious practices. The chirunga was a very sacred object for the members of the clan. So in their religious practices, they would swirl the chirunga and worship it and, stuff like that. In fact, a lot of their religious rituals for each clan, it revolved around the clan totem. The clan totem. The clan totem had a very special significance for its members. So for you guys, what is very significant? The lion or the lizard? You guys, it's the lizard, because you are lizard people. Okay, they are the lion people. For them, the lion is very sacred, and so on. So for each clan, the totem was a very sacred object, and it was central to nearly all their religious rituals and practices. In other words, during religious rituals, members of a clan would worship their totem. They were worshipping their totem. In fact, their religion is termed as totemism. Totem worship, simply, or totemism. So Durkheim studied totemism amongst the Arunta people. So what does this mean? Durkheim asks a rhetorical kind of a question. He says that totem is the most sacred object. It is the object of reverence and worship for the members of the clan. The totem also represents what? What does it represent? Yes, the group or the clan itself. So what are people worshipping when they are worshipping the totem? What are they worshipping? What does the totem stand for? The clan. So members of the social group are worshipping the group itself via the totem. Are you with me? That is what Durkheim concludes. That religion is nothing but society worshipping itself. Religion is society worshipping itself. Simple, yeah. The totem represents the clan. The totem is being worshipped. So who is being worshipped? The clan itself is being worshipped. Yes or no? What does that object which is being worshipped, what does it represent? It represents the people, the clan. So the people are literally worshipping the society itself during rituals. So God is who? Society. Durkheim writes, God is society divinized. God is society divinized. Yes, everything is from his book. God is society divinized. When people are worshipping God, whom are they worshipping? They are worshipping the society itself. So God and society are not any two different things or entities. The society itself takes a divine form and appears as God before its members. God is society divinized. What did I say? When the people are engaging in worship or rituals, they are worshipping the society itself. God is nothing else but society divinized. Or society takes a divine form and appears as God before its members. Why? Or let me ask it this way. How does it help the society in any way if the members worship the notion of God? In other words, we are now discussing the various what? What of religion? Functions of religion according to Sri Durkheim. Religion performs several important functions, friends, as follows. When I say it performs functions, I mean it contributes to the maintenance and well-being of the society. I am quickly recapping whatever I have taught till now. The Arunta people, the Arunta society was divided into exogamous clans. Each clan was represented by a distinct plant or animal symbol called the totem. The totem was the symbol of the clan. It was present on the clan flag. The totem was also a very sacred object for the members of a clan. It was central to their religious rituals and worship. From this observation, that the totem is the object of worship and the totem also represents the clan itself, Durkheim concludes that religion is nothing but society worshipping itself. Members of a group are worshipping that group itself through the medium of the totem or that symbol or God. God is nothing but society divinized. And this society worship, religion is simply in 2 words, society worship. And this society worship performs several functions for the society. It contributes to the maintenance and well-being of the society as a whole. As follows. You tell me, friends, what are the functions of religion? So many of us are religious. How does it benefit the society as a whole? It keeps the society united. It provides a shared morality, shared values, absolutely. You guys have already done the subject. Huh? A sense of belonging, shared morality, absolutely on the mark. Please write down in a somewhat more organized manner various functions of religion according to Durkheim's theory. 1. It provides a shared sense of morality. A shared sense of morality. Simply, all the members of a particular religious community, they develop the same sense of right and wrong. How we are to conduct ourselves, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable social behavior. What tells us? Who draws the boundaries? In large part, it is religion. What do we worship, friends? Do we worship Raja Ram? In Hindu society, do we worship Raja Ram? Whom do we worship? Maryada Purushottam Ram. Meaning what? He is the embodiment, the perfect embodiment of the morality of the society. Maryada Purushottam, the Uttam Purush, the perfect man who conformed to the Maryada or the morality, the bounds of the society as laid down by the society. Yes or no? Yes. So we don't worship him because of his greatness as a king or his conquests, but because he is Maryada Purushottam. So, religion provides the members of a group with a shared sense of right and wrong. And that shared moral compass is very important for us to effectively organize our collective lives and live together in peace and harmony. Without a shared morality, simply, friends, collective life will become near impossible. If each of us has their own individual sense of right or wrong, what I consider to be extremely wrong and you think it is all justified, it will lead to what? Immense conflict and clashes. So we need a shared sense of morality, a shared sense of right and wrong. And what provides that? It is religion. Secondly, religion also helps us to achieve social control over the individual, us meaning the society. It serves as a mechanism for social control. Religion serves as a mechanism for social control. See, certain acts are condemned as sins, prohibited. There's a strong taboo against their doing. Certain things are regarded as extremely sacred, that they cannot be, they are beyond reproach, beyond question, beyond any sort of criticism or, being made fun of. And what happens then? These rules and regulations, when they are defined as sacred, they acquire a lot of power to control the actions of the individual members of the society. When the important social rules and regulations are defined as sacred, they acquire a lot of power to control the actions of the individual members of the society. Do you want me to repeat? When certain rules and regulations are defined as sacred, they acquire a lot of power to control the actions of the individual members of the society. If you belong to the Hindu faith, for instance, can you engage in gau hatya, the slaughter of the cow? Forget that it is against the law in certain parts of the country. Law is a small thing. Gau hatya kya hai? Paap hai. Yes? And when we say it is paap, there is a very big taboo, religious or spiritual consequences associated. So, religion also serves as a very effective mechanism of social control. Please appreciate another aspect, that the relationship, according to Durkheim, the relationship between man and God is exactly the same as the relationship between man and society. I repeat, the relationship between man and God is the same as the relationship between man and society. Let us try to appreciate what this means. What is man's relationship with God? What is our relationship with God? When we are worshipping, what are we saying in the act of prayer? Yes? It's personal. So, is it like, a chuddy buddy kind of a relationship? Ki aur bhai God? Huh? Like how they show in some Salman Khan kind of movies, but it's really never like that. Huh? How is our relationship with God? Sorry?
We are receivers and God is considered as giver.
Absolutely, very well expressed. We are the recipients of His magnanimity, His generosity, His kindness, His beneficence, right? And He is the giver. Like in Hindu culture, we say, झोली हम फैला के खड़े होते हैं, है ना? We may be a crorepati or whatever, But the God is the giver, so whatever crores I have, it is thanks to the Almighty. What else is the nature of that relationship? That of a giver and a recipient. What else? He is the creator and we are the creation. See, please appreciate, in the act of prayer, how does the typical prayer go? That, hey Prabhu, आप सर्वज्ञ हो, सर्वव्यापी, सर्वज्ञानी, और मैं सूक्ष्म प्राणी. Yes or no? मुझ पे कृपा करो. Translated into English as that, hey Almighty, H-E-Y, hey Almighty, you are omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, and I'm akin to a speck of dust. Okay? So please shower your beneficence on me. This is what we say. So when we pray, we acknowledge the greatness of God and our sheer dependence on God, irrespective of religion. We acknowledge the bigness and we acknowledge our own sukshmata, for lack of a better word, our own triviality. You know, how trivial and inconsequential we as individuals are. And this is exactly the relationship between man and society. Just like we see ourselves dependent on God, we are really dependent on who? The society. When we as individuals acknowledge our sukshmata, our powerlessness and whatever before the Almighty, it induces in the individual a sense of humility. Are you with me? You acknowledge that there is a power above and beyond you who controls things, including your life. Please appreciate, otherwise we will be filled with haughtiness, particularly the successful members of the society. Yes or no? An Ambani would not think anything of anyone. He's like, ye sab keede makode. He probably does so anyways. But idea is that the notion of God induces a sense of humility, powerlessness, dependence amongst the members of the society. And that becomes a basis of cooperation. So when we are acknowledging our dependence on God, we are indirectly acknowledging our dependence on society. When we are acknowledging the power of God, we are indirectly acknowledging the power of society to control our lives. Are you with me? Or no? Say no if you are not. Is it understood? What we are saying, what Durkheim is saying, that the relationship between man and God is exactly the same as relationship between man and society. That relationship is characterized by the sheer dependence of man on God, oblique society. God, oblique society, is infinitely superior to man, the individual man, even the most highly accomplished amongst us. So, when we pray, when we think of the Almighty, we are acknowledging the existence of a superior power. We are indirectly acknowledging that there exists an entity above and beyond me Narendra Modi, or me, Anil Ambani. No, sorry, the successful one. Huh? So it induces a sense of humility. In the individual members, and that facilitates cooperation. That facilitates cooperation. Otherwise, the successful people will be filled with chore, no? They will have no regard for the fellow human beings. But because they acknowledge the existence of a superior power, and they attribute some of their success to that superior power, it facilitates cooperation. Shall I move ahead? Religion is also a very important source of strength. An important source of strength, particularly in difficult times. We need more strength while we are going through hardships. An important source of strength during those difficult periods is religion. For individuals also, groups also. Please appreciate, friends, when man feels helpless, whom does he remember? When there is high degree of uncertainty in life, whom do we remember? When the UPSC result will come out, whom will you pray to? Yes or no? Because there is uncertainty. You will be like, Bhaiya nahi, Bhagwan, naiya paar laga de. Right? That help me, God. When, now in all societies, all members go through difficult times. A particularly trying moment is death of one's near and dear ones. Yes? Please appreciate, the fact of death is a very jarring one. Reason being, somebody you have lived with for long periods of time, developed a very close relationship with, whether it is a parent, a child, a friend, a spouse, and they are an integral part of your lives. And then one fine moment they are gone. So the act of death physically removes a member of the society from the group. So the existing equations, they are upset. A lot of people would depend on that individual for various things. Whether it is advice or emotional support or food. Religion helps make sense of such tragic and difficult events like death. So, such difficult times become more bearable. So, the death rituals surrounding death, they help the bereaved meaning the ones who have lost their dear one, the family members, the close friends of the deceased person. They help them to tide over and make sense of death. How does religion, you tell me, how does religion help us deal, us meaning those who survive, deal with death? It will, what does it say? What does religion tell you? क्या वो मर गए, खत्म हो गए? नहीं. He lives on. हाँ, शरीर तो निश्वर है ना? Only the sharir, the body has decayed. He lives on through his grandchildren. He lives on as an Atma or a spirit amongst us.
Concept of rebirth.
Rebirth. Yes, he will be reborn somewhere, possibly in the same household. Huh? So a lot of such things, you know. भगवान को प्यारे थे तो वो प्यारे हो गए. We make sense of death, and that helps the bereaved members to come to terms with it. So religion is a very important source of strength during difficult times. Another important function that religion performs is that it produces collective effervescence. What Durkheim noticed, friends, that amongst the Arunta people, religious ceremonies and rituals involved a lot of dance, music, collectively, collective singing, collective dancing, collective this and that, playing instruments, and so on and so forth. And this has a particular significance for the society. These collective rituals, these rituals which are performed collectively with a lot of song and dance and drama, it produces a collective effervescence. In collective acts of worship, a collective effervescence is produced. Effervescence means what? A sort of energy. Huge amounts of energy is produced. And what does this energy do? It strengthens the bond binding the individual to the group. This collective energy which is produced, it strengthens the bonds binding the individual to the group. Forget Arunta. Think of your own religion, whichever religion you belong to. Have you participated in religious rituals or been witness? Do your religious gatherings, etc., involve a lot of dance, drama, music, etc.? Bhajan Kirtan Samitis, Satsangs amongst the Hindus? Yes or no? And what does that do? Have you experienced that energy which is produced during these religious gatherings personally? Whenever a large number of people, they are singing or dancing together, it produces that energy. How many of you have been to Mata Vaishno Devi? जोर से बोलो, सारे बोलो, आवाज नहीं आई, अगले बोलो. So what does that do? You know, when you do that during the chadhai, it has that electrifying effect. And you also become one with the community. Yes or no? You may have gone there for trekking or a holiday with your friends. But when you exchange that Jai Mata Di greeting with other travelers, you also feel like a Mata ka Bhagat. Yes or no? That is what religion does. Or it could be the Friday Azan. Collective prayers, collective worship in any community, they have that effect of strengthening the bonds of the individual with the group. And why only religion? It could be, or you may have witnessed it in sporting events. When you have in stadiums, Sachin, Sachin, the whole crowd is doing that, and you get united as one as Indians, right? It could be in music concerts, yeah. So that electrifying effect which is produced is what we call collective effervescence. It is a hallmark of religious rituals, and when during religious rituals and worship such electrifying effect or collective effervescence is produced, it serves to further strengthen the bonds of the individual with the community. So, religion, according to Durkheim, is an important source of social solidarity. Arthat, it unites its members. It serves as a unifying force. These are the functions of religion according to Sri Durkheim. Please complete Durkheim's definition of religion we had begun with. We had left it incomplete, now we will complete it and it will make sense. Religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices. Are you able to locate it? It should be in the early part of your Durkheim religion notes. Religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things, i.e., that is, continue writing, things set apart and forbidden. Things set apart and forbidden. We are just explaining what sacred means. That is, things set apart and forbidden, which unites its members into a single moral community. Which unites its members into a single moral community. So we've discussed two of those various functions, that it provides a shared morality. We all develop the same sense of right and wrong. And secondly, that it is a unifying force. It unites its members or its adherents into a single moral community, full stop, and that is Durkheim's definition of religion. We are not yet done with his views on religion. When Durkheim was writing, friends, this was in the 19th and early 20th century. What was your sense? What was happening to religion in his own society, which is Western Europe? Particularly belonged to France. What was happening to, or what had happened to religion with industrial and French revolutions? He is using a very strong phrase, death of religion. Yes?
Questions on religion.
Religion was increasingly questioned since Renaissance. Religion was, many would say it was out of fashion or out of date. Religion had greatly declined in social importance. In Europe, religion had been in many ways replaced by what? Religion had been replaced as a, as a body of knowledge, as the source of explanations. By what? By science. Please appreciate. So, European society of his own times, his own society, it had what was largely, it was assumed that it had undergone what is called secularization. Secularization simply means it is a process in which religion declines in importance in society. A decline in the importance of religion in society is called secularization. A decline in the importance of religion in society is called secularization, and it was widely believed that European society, along with modernization, along with French and industrial revolutions, Enlightenment period, all those, that long drawn period, it had undergone secularization. In other words, in pre-modern Europe, religion was important, but after modernization, the importance of religion for the people had greatly shrunk. Yes? However, Durkheim interprets this process very differently. He does not consider it to be a decline of religion or the social importance of religion. How Durkheim explains it, friends, he sees it as a new set of sacreds replacing the old sacreds. I'll explain. Durkheim sees or interprets the changes in European society as old sacreds being replaced by a new set of sacreds. I repeat it because I was asked to. What is the new sacred in modern society? The concept of nation. Please appreciate. That serves as a new sacred. So whom do we worship today? The nation. In modern societies there is nation worship. So the national flag has replaced the Bhagwa. Are you with me? And that process is bound to happen also. Why? Because in a modern society, traditional or pre-modern societies were largely homogeneous in terms of their religious composition. So when we were all Hindus, the Bhagwa served as a uniting force. But modern industrial society is characterized by heterogeneity. In contemporary India, say you have not only Hindus but a substantial chunk of Muslims and many other faiths. So now the Tiranga is the new sacred, the national flag, the national emblem. And this new religion that we have, does it also perform the same functions that religion did in pre-modern societies? In an Arunta tribe, what did religion do? It provided us a shared morality. Do we in modern societies have a source of shared morality? What do we call it? The constitution. So when Hindu Hriday Samrat Modi ji was asked, okay, once one of his ministers, I think the late Sushma Swaraj, she had commented that the Bhagavad Gita should be declared the national book of India. So journalists, as is their wont, they thrust a mic in Modi ji's face and asked him that how do you look at that comment? Should Bhagavad Gita be made the national book of India? Huh? And he said, for me there is only one national book, which is the constitution of the country. So that is the new unifying force, the new shared morality, and not the Bhagavad Gita or the Holy Quran or the Holy Bible. We all must abide by the constitution. It tells us what is right and what is wrong. What are our common and shared, cherished ideals? Yes or no? So everything that an individual does, a power holder or even an ordinary citizen, it is to be tested against the benchmark, the kasauti of the constitution.
But the constitution.
Let me just have my say. I am Durkheim right now. Just bear with me. Okay. Like religion in pre-modern societies produces that collective effervescence, that electrifying effect. Do you have sacred symbols producing the same electrifying effect during some sort of rituals in modern society? When you all stand up for the national anthem, yes or no, and sing Jana Gana Man in a collectivity, rongte khade ho jate hain? Does it have that kind of an electrifying effect? And you also feel a proud Indian, a member of the community, yes or no? So religion continues to exist, Durkheim would argue, albeit in a changed form, even in modern industrial society. The national flag, the national emblem, the national song, the national anthem, the constitution, these are the new sacreds which have replaced the old. So religion is not dead, as you were commenting, Durkheim would argue. Right? Religion is very much alive and kicking, even in modern industrial society. Why? Because it performs several vital functions. It is essential for a society that members have some mechanism to unite them. Religion provides that glue, that adhesive, that source of a shared morality. You know, this nation worship, it is also called a form of civic religion. Civic religion. You know, even in a society like America, interpreted as highly secularized by outsiders, there is an immense glorification. There is almost a cult of America. So Americans go crazy on which day? What is their Navratri? It is the... No, not Easter, those are the old sacreds. The new sacred, the 4th of July. Right? The Independence Day. So, you know, state worship, that is a form of new religion. In some societies, certain freedoms may be regarded as sacred, like a freedom of speech and expression, the freedom to criticize, the freedom to express one's views. So fundamental rights, or at least some of them, they acquire a sacred character. That is about religion in modern society according to Sri Durkheim. So, are you able to appreciate his views? If not entirely agree, but are you able to understand what he is saying? Yes? Yes. Let us now somewhat disagree with the gentleman. Yeah? What's wrong? Sorry.
Nation exists in pre-modern society also.
Sorry?
Nation exists in pre-modern society.
The concept of nation state, it is somewhat of a relatively new development. We'll discuss. It is somewhat of a modern day creature. Yes, but where do we disagree? Religion unites us, binds us, tells us all things nice. Beta, be good boys and girls. Tell me, criticize the guy, huh?
The caste system,
Huh?
the untouchability and
So Hinduism as a religion teaches us caste system, the abhorrent practice of untouchability. Yes, absolutely. Correct example. Religious killings are happening. Killings in the name of religion. Absolutely. Yes.
Also, sir, he bases his entire theory of religion based on the study of one tribe and of Aboriginals of Australia.
So it's like too wide a generalization perhaps, based on the study of one isolated kind of tribe amongst, and he kind of, extrapolates those findings to religion in general. Absolutely. Religion actually creates divisions. Like what? Based on caste, based on sects.
Sir, every religion consider itself being superior.
So religions have that, absolutely well put. They consider themselves to be superior to others, and this leads to conflict, not cooperation, harmony, etc. Yes. So religion kind of justifies, say, disprivilege or inequality. Yes. Raise your hand and speak. Yes. What about it? So animal sacrifices, so what? What is the point? So? No. What are you saying about how you criticizing Durkheim's theory? Yes.
Sir, on behalf of him, I would say that it leads to animal cruelty.
It leads to animal cruelty, and Durkheim, very frankly, what we have discussed is a very oversimplified picture. He does talk about sacrifices and all, and he says that's also quite awesome. Okay. So, yeah. Yes. Yes.
Sir, it can lead to communalism.
It can lead to communalism. Yes. Next. आवाज बुलंद करो. Forget the mic if it doesn't work.
Fundamentalists in a particular religion, they always try to put the
Right, so we have conflicts and contradictions in the contemporary multicultural societies because of religious fundamentalists. It justifies wrong acts like which? कोई नहीं बता दो. Like Bajrang Dal troubling couples, willing adult couples. Yes. Yes. Religion prevents reforms. So, girls getting married at an early age amongst Muslims. Yes. Absolutely. Please write down. Criticism of Durkheim's theory of religion. He ignores the negative aspects, the negative consequences of religion. Religion he portrays as a source of harmony and cooperation, ignoring the widely prevalent conflict, bloodshed in the name of religion, both historical and contemporary. Religion has been a very important source of strife, divisions, conflict. Yes or no? Between communities, say Hindu-Muslim riots, and within a religious community also. Say Shia-Sunni, violence is even more, what do you call it? Intense, yes. On different interpretations of religion. Conflict theorists or Marxists highlight that religion is used to justify the privilege of who? The privileged? Of the privileged. Religion is used to justify the privilege of the privileged sections of the society. So it basically enables the privileged sections to perpetuate their, rule. Another criticism is that Durkheim's theory, friends, is possibly quite suitable to explain the role of religion in simple and primitive societies. So his study of Arunta may be quite on the mark. But साफ बात है that bulk of the world's population adheres to not these primitive or simple religions but large, complex and highly evolved kind of religious communities. In simple terms, friends, a religion or a community like Muslims or Christians or Hindus are not a simple small scale tribe like the Arunta people. Yes or no? They have a very long history, a very complex theology. Theology means religious doctrines and explanations. Hinduism, if you look at it, there are so many schools of philosophy within Hinduism. There are so many interpretations of Islam by different schools. Our social organization is very different from the simple Arunta one. Exogamous clans, each associated with a battak or a fish. So to simply, study a simple small scale society and then generalize it to large-scale, complex religious systems is too much of a stretch. That needs to be analyzed and studied separately. Friends, Durkheim says that religion is a source of shared morality. It tells us right from wrong. Yes or no? That simply encourages us to do what? Right or wrong? Right. But Baba Saheb Ambedkar, he says what? Hinduism teaches immorality. So religion doesn't necessarily promote moral or good behavior. He says Hinduism is immoral. It teaches, see, untouchability according to Baba Saheb is integral to Hindu religion, integral to the Hindu, the religion of Hinduism. And nothing could be more pathetic, abhorrent, vile, evil than the practice of untouchability. It tells human beings to treat their fellow human beings as not even worthy of human touch. He says it is worse than slavery. And Hinduism actively teaches its members to practice untouchability. He says, those Hindus who practice untouchability, why do they do it? How many of you have members in your family, your grandparents, great-grandparents, chacha, chachi or whoever, or parents, who practice untouchability in some form or the other? Raise your hands. Quite a few of us. Whoever those family members are, your parents or grandparents, are they evil? Do they want to, are they like scheming demons or something? They want to do evil things to humanity? No. Ambedkar says when a Hindu practices untouchability, it is not because he is intrinsically evil. It is because his religion tells him to do so. So they are a very religious people, religious Hindus who practice untouchability. And Durkheim sees religion as all sugar and spice. Another point of criticism of Durkheim's theory. Now he assumes that all societies divide their whole world into these two categories of sacred and profane. All things. Yes or no? Like we discussed, everything is either sacred or profane in every society and culture according to Durkheim. But is it really so? I will ask you, in your culture, I'm assuming you to be Hindu, what about books? And I'm not talking about holy scriptures. I'm not talking about Bhagavad Gita or Ramayana, Mahabharata or the Ved Puran. I'm talking about this Sangwan book. Is it sacred or profane? Is it sacred or profane? Not because of its importance for you, okay, that it's very important for UPSC, not sacred in that sense. Okay, it's not about the utility of the thing. But is it sacred or profane? Is it profane? Can you touch it with your feet? And if you touch it with your feet, what will you do? If inadvertently, by mistake, you will do this. And this is no holy scripture, clearly. books, vidya or knowledge in general, even the most mundane kinds. So it has an element of profanity, profaneness. Profanity means gali, so we don't use that word. Profaneness and an element of sacredness. Yes or no? Yes. What about food? Is it an ordinary everyday thing, the regular meal that you take? Or is it also sacred? Yes or no? Ordinary food. I'm not talking about prasad from a mandir. Point is, the way Durkheim portrays this dichotomy as, two clear categories, you belong either to this or to that. It's not necessarily so in all cultures and societies. Things may be regarded as partly sacred and partly profane. In Hindu culture, friends, we say that har kankad mein shankar basta hai. Yes or no? So we see divinity in the elements of nature. So this sacred profane dichotomy, which is central to Durkheim's theory of religion, is questioned by critics that it is not a universal, across cultures kind of a categorization. Maybe it appealed or it was applicable in the Arunta context, but quite unlikely that it will apply in the Hindu context, for example. Yes or no? Religion, friends, is also a great source of exploitation and oppression. It is not only about integration, harmony, cooperation, and a shared morality. Don't chew gum, please. Gulp it down, I request, or throw it. Thank you. Where was I? It is a source of oppression and exploitation. Immense amounts of atrocities, injustices are done in the name of religion, or condoned, justified by relying upon religion. Whether it is the caste system, or it is the sati pratha, or it is polygamy, and this oppressive and exploitative dimension or aspect of religion, Durkheim quite conveniently neglects in his writings. Another important point of criticism of Sri Durkheim is that he was an armchair sociologist. Friends, he based his magnum opus on the study of the Arunta tribe. His voluminous writings on religion, his entire analysis of religion, he based on Arunta tribe, and never once bothered to even visit them. Sitting in his presumably air-conditioned kind of a drawing room, Durkheim Janab wrote tomes and tomes on the religious practices of the Arunta people, relying upon data gathered by others. कौन जाए अपने धूप में, across continents from Europe to Australia. So he did not have first-hand knowledge of the Arunta people. Durkheim's theory is also accused of neglecting one important element of every society, which those who are subjected to the worst side of religion. Yes, women, and feminists highlight that. Feminist scholars like Karen Armstrong and the late Kamala Bhasin ji highlight that religion is anti-women. Which religion? All religions, absolutely. Karen Armstrong writes, for instance, that all the major religions are male-dominated. The priests are mostly who? Men. The gurus are mostly who? Men. The authors of the scriptures are mostly who? Men. The rules written in the scriptures favor who? Men. So religions are controlled, interpreted, and dominated by men. Ever seen a female Shankaracharya? And this is not just about Hinduism. You talk about Islam, Christianity, any major religion, you will find that women are at the margins. They are subjected to discriminatory practices, which are justified in the name of what? Religion. So religions justify and provide a basis for male control over women. Another criticism of Sri Durkheim is that since the guy did not bother to visit the Arunta people, he misinterpreted their social organization also in the sense. Critics point out that the Arunta people, they are united at the level of the tribe, not the clan. The totem is clan specific, but the unity exists at the level of the whole tribe. In other words, there is something other than the totem, other than religion, which possibly unites the whole of the society, even amongst the Arunta. Are you with me? Durkheim felt or wrote that it is the totem. Totem represents a particular clan, and therefore the members of the clan are united. Critics point out, no bhaiya, jaate to pata lagta that the Arunta people are united not at the level of the clan, but at the level of the whole tribe. And in modern societies, religion is a unifying force or a divisive force. And what unites us? Subduing religion, what we call secularism. If you understand religion in the conventional sense of the term, religion is an extremely divisive force in modern societies, modern, plural societies. And that divisive aspect of religion needs to be kept in check through ideologies like secularism. So Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, आपस में सब भाई भाई. That is what unites us. And not the Bhagwa or the crescent or the cross. With that, we are saying in modern industrial societies, religion in itself is a divisive force and needs to be kept in check. It is ideologies like secularism which unite the people. Secularism implies you subordinate religion or, kind of reduce the importance of religion, relegate it to the private sphere, at least in the West. That is what secularism has meant. And with that, we are done with Durkheim's theory of religion. Kamla Bhasin ji is a great Indian feminist. She died recently, a year or two back. Karen Armstrong, you can remember by imagining Karan Johar with strong arms. Okay? So, if that helps. Okay. Before we take a short break, let us, are you carrying your sangwans? Take it out. We'll discuss how to study Sangwan second edition. For those who are not carrying their books, they can glance in their neighbor's book. The pages that have to be studied or the chapters, they have been specified in the PDF. You look that up. As you cover a topic, you open this book. Say you are looking at the first topic. When we studied modernity and social change in Europe. Okay? Page number 4. When we discussed emergence of sociology. That is there. First rule is glance through. Do not read the book word by word and page by page. It will be a very cumbersome task. So, glance through. Glance through meaning, in Hindi, nazar marni hai. Okay? So, I'm at this unit. My eyes are at the unit 1.1, modernity and social change in Europe. Okay? So, regarding, I see this box on dark ages. It was not too much discussed in class. So, maybe I have little knowledge on dark ages. So, what I'll do, I'll quickly read this. So, I know I maybe have a better understanding of it. And I'll underline medieval period. 5th to 15th century. Decline, I would underline. Negative connotations. Then I come to the main body. Okay, and they say that the first para basically says sociological reasoning predates the foundation of the discipline. And they're also talking about Plato and Kautilya and all that. Okay, when I read this, I say, okay, Plato's book, Republic, is mentioned here, which possibly was not communicated in the class. I'm assuming I didn't name it. So I'll say, okay, I'll underline Republic of Plato. Then, okay, there's some Cicero fellow. Yeah, he is one of those ancient fellows. We had a few names. We add this name to our kitty. So we say, okay, D offices of Cicero. Okay. Then we see, in bold Enlightenment period, Dark Ages, we spoke about all of this. Renaissance. Then I come to this table on page 5, which says France, Germany, Italy, and evolution of modern sociological thought. It mentions, now what do I take home from this table? What do I gather from this table? It shares or it throws a wealth of information at me, the years and the countries to which different sociologists belonged. What do I do with the years? Do I remember them? No, I don't. Okay, it will be too cumbersome. I don't have to make my own life hell. UPSC is doing that for us. Okay, so we have to make it as simple as possible. What I can do is perhaps take a look at which scholars belong to which country. So if you're writing about the French Revolution, we can mention or focus on the French names. Are you with me? With that logic or that mindset. Okay, these guys are from France. 3 to 4 names are good enough. Many of these names you already know. Saint-Simon, Montesquieu, Rousseau, Comte, Durkheim. I neglect the other 3. Why should I add burden? Okay. Germany, Marx, Weber we know. Kant possibly or Hegel. You'll hear about them or you may have heard about them. Like that. Okay. Not too much. Indian sociologists we discuss in paper 2 anyways. Then we come to the para below that table. Now this para tells me modernity, term modernity is derived from the Latin word modernus, which was not told to me in the class, so I underline. Okay, it's also simple to understand and easy to remember, that being an important criteria of what you pick up from the book. Okay, modernity derived from the Latin word modernus, meaning now or current. Derived from modo, which means now or current. Modernity denotes new practices as compared to the old. It denotes a specific period in history of Europe during which Europe saw significant cultural and intellectual upheaval. Then I see this beautiful line, according to Marshall Berman, in all that is solid melts into air the experience of modernity. He asserted that modernity was not only about some new liberal ideas and practices, but also about the existential experience of the conditions that they produce even today, and their ongoing impact on human culture, institutions, and politics. Am I able to understand this? Am I able to understand? For lesser mortals amongst us, we are not able to understand. So what do? We chuck it. Simple. There is no sanctity associated with it that you must understand. That is what I am trying to tell you. So if you find something too difficult, too English, too complex, too indirect, junk it. Please appreciate. That is the learning here. Don't get tense. Yaar, I did not understand this phrase or this word or this line in the book. And how do you decide what you can junk and what you can't? For that, there are only 2 benchmarks that you and I have. One is the syllabus topics. The other is the previous year questions. They have, so once we do this topic, we in the weekly assignment see the previous year's questions. Have they asked anything specifically on Marshall Berman? Or let me put it this way, can we write an answer on emergence of sociology and modernization of Europe without Marshall Berman? Conveniently, we have adequate content, so bhaad mein jaye. ठीक है? Why should we make our lives hell? We send him to hell. Then we come to the next page. Here I find some words like feudalism. I don't recollect if it was mentioned or not, but we understand it broadly. So we can possibly write that from feudalism to capitalism, industrialization, secularization, nation state was not mentioned. Representative democracy and bureaucracy. And these are like easy to understand also reasonably, right? Intuitively we know what bureaucracy stands for, right? I really hope we do because we are trying to enter that. So these easy to understand and value addition kind of things we add in our notes. This is how we have to use the book. A lot of things will seem to be a repetition of what we have already discussed. What do? We do not need to read it again from another source. Are you with me? So there is this box on the next page, Bottomore on intellectual streams. Bottomore is a respected fellow. Okay, and he's written something that the main intellectual streams were this: philosophy of history, organic evolution. This we have discussed. But we did not have the name Bottomore in our notes possibly. So we write there in brackets, says Bottomore, and then we show off in the answer sheet. Are you with me? Then you come to page 8. And I find a very fancy kind of a diagram regarding the emergence of sociology. So for sure I pick it up. Alright? On the next page also I see another diagram, figure 1.2. I pick that up as well without the shield. Okay? Just write French Revolution here and the three things which led to it possibly, intellectual push, economic anomalies. So we can represent things diagrammatically. Diagrams we can definitely pick up from Sangwan. Are you with me? Then we come to page 10 and we come to a topic called scope of the subject of sociology. Then we open the syllabus and see it is mentioned there. But it has not been taught. Then what do? We leave it for now. We will study it when we study it in class. Simply. Are you with me? This is how we have to try to use this kitab. So you pick up selectively some scholars to add to your notes, some diagrams, some easy to understand and easy to remember concepts or terms. Okay? This is what I wanted to bring to your attention. And with that we take a well-deserved break. Online friends, please confirm that you can hear me. Please confirm, type yes. Thank you. I'm being asked, what about people who have first edition? You can continue to use first edition, that's all right. Okay. Today it was only to illustrate like how to use the book. And most people have the second edition, that's why I used it. Please settle down. Please settle down. Moving on to the next topic in Durkheim's theory of division, is Durkheim's theory of division of labor. His book is named as The Division of Labor in Society. And this was his PhD thesis. It was the title of his PhD thesis, which later on, of course, was published in the form of a book. Forget Durkheim for a bit. What do you understand by this word division of labor? It's normal English words. What do you understand by them? What do you understand in layman terms? What is division of labor? Don't tell him, tell us, all of us. Yes? Skilled and unskilled labor, okay. Yes? Please raise your hand so that I can put a face to your voice. Huh? Very brilliantly explained, different people performing different tasks. Yes. The categorization of work into different categories. Huh? Fine. That is simply division of labor when work is split into its component parts or, divided into smaller units. Absolutely. And this phenomena of division of labor was first studied by which discipline? It should come to you very intuitively. Which subject or which experts would be economists. So before Durkheim wrote on division of labor, there was a lot of literature, writings, analysis of division of labor by economists. And the most celebrated amongst them is who? Adam Smith. So economists, including Adam Smith, they analyzed division of labor. Please write down. Division of labor means splitting up of an activity into a number of smaller processes or parts all right, number of smaller processes or parts, full stop. These different processes or these different or smaller processes are then undertaken by the same person or different persons? different persons. That is the whole logic undertaken by different persons. Why? Why should a task be divided into smaller components? What is the benefit, if any? And please appreciate, with Industrial Revolution, this thing began happening. Things were being produced earlier as well. Don't chew gum, please. It distracts better. Huh? Kya? Things were being produced earlier as well. But earlier there was lesser degree of division of labor. In the sense, shirts were being manufactured, clothing was being manufactured earlier or prior to the Industrial Revolution as well. But it would be kind of one person working upon one piece of shirt, completing the task and then moving to another. And it would take a lot of time to complete a particular project. With Industrial Revolution, what began to happen? The task, whatever that task is, the task of production, say making a shirt, was divided into smaller components or parts. So instead of one person making the whole of the shirt, then tying and dyeing it and pressing it and then putting it up for sale, one person was assigned the task of, say, making the collar, another person making the sleeves, third person stitching it all together, fourth person with putting on the buttons, fifth person with ironing the shirt, sixth with dyeing the shirt, and so on and so forth. And what this resulted in? Sorry? Task specialization took place, but what does it lead to? A significant increase in speed and efficiency. So when I was earlier making the whole shirt, I was quite slow and clumsy at the task. But now my task is confined to only sewing the button. And I become very adept at it. I become an expert at a very niche or narrow kind of an activity. So I become very fast at it. Please appreciate. So if these 7 people in pre-industrial society were producing 7 shirts in a day, one person was able to produce 1 full shirt a day. Now these 7 persons, the same 7 persons with the task divided amongst them, they could now produce 70 shirts a day. So it was not some minor or incremental increase in productivity, but rather a massive, a quantum jump in overall productivity, in production efficiency, and the total output. This is how, who analyzed this process? Economists, like Adam Smith. They saw this process as contributing to specialization, development of expertise, and immense savings in time and cost, thereby leading to increase in productivity and efficiency. This was the economists' kind of analysis of division of labor. The silence is for you to note it down, yeah? In your own words. Don't think, the economists are not in the syllabus, so why write? Huh? That's the mindset, I think. The economists, like Adam Smith, saw division of labor as contributing to massive increase in speed, efficiency, and overall economic productivity. friends. But when Durkheim analyzes division of labor, please appreciate, he does not see it only as a mechanism to increase productivity. Rather, it is much, much more than that. According to Durkheim, division of labor performs or meets some vital need of the society. Division of labor in Durkheim's eyes is not confined to the economy. It takes place in the whole of the society. Why just the economy? So, for example, in the family, is there any division of labor? Yes, there is. So, division of labor exists in the family as well. In governance and political system, is there division of labor? Modi ji is doing something, ministers are doing something, bureaucrats are doing something. Yes or no? So it is a society-wide phenomena, confined not only to the economy. Its effects are not only, of course the increase in productivity is important, but it's not the only contribution that division of labor makes to the society. Guys, I'll request a small thing. Whenever I'm pausing so that you can write, then once you have written, I request you to look up, because then that's my signal to move ahead. Okay, so don't just keep looking down, so that I know that you've written and then I can move on. Yeah? You know, when Durkheim began his PhD thesis, he was really troubled by a particular question which sprang up in his mind. That question was that in traditional or pre-modern Europe, it is obvious that, society was held together by people sharing a lot of things. Particularly in pre-modern Europe or pre-modern society in general, the collectivity was very strong. The individual was subordinated to the collectivity. Yes, the individual was considered less important than the collectivity. It was characterized by the value of collectivism, like we are. So individuals' aspirations, individuals' desires, expectations, all of those could be sacrificed for the society as a whole. And that is what enabled society in pre-modern times to stay together and run smoothly. But Durkheim witnessed in his own times, there has been an immense increase in individualism. So collectivism of older times has given way to a very heightened individualism. In other words, people are no more willing to sacrifice their ambitions, aspirations, likes, desires, wants for the society. And Durkheim was nearly worried that if each individual member of the society is pulling in a different direction, then what will sustain modern industrial society together? Are you with me? That was a recurrent thought troubling his mind. How is the society able to stay together if each of us is selfish and pursuing our own thing? Are you with me? I care a damn about the society. That is the modern attitude. I am more important than the collectivity, than the society, than the community, than the family. So we are literally pulling in different directions. And it seems to be that will literally rupture the society, or pull it in different directions, tearing it apart. So how is it that the society is still held together in modern industrial times? What holds the society together? Division of labor plays an important role in that. How? We will discuss. Durkheim was concerned about, I'm just dictating what I just explained. Durkheim was concerned about the rise of individualism in modern industrial society. And wondered how the society will stay intact if each person pursues his own ends. Pursues his own ends. So he is basically analyzing this change from pre-modern to modern society, and how division of labor, how the whole society changes with that transition. How this transition from pre-modern to modern society takes place? It is due to three factors. Volume, moral density, and material density. These are the three factors. I'll explain what these terms mean. As these three factors change, society changes from pre-modern to modern. Volume, material density, and moral density. They are only different words, they are simple in meaning. Let us begin one by one. Volume refers to the total population, the size of the population, that Durkheim terms as volume. The term volume in Durkheim's writing refers to the population. So you tell me, volume increases or decreases as society changes from pre-modern to modern? The population size increases. Okay? So the population size or volume is small in pre-modern society and it is large in modern industrial society. In other words, the volume increases. Material density refers to the density of the population, what we call population density. What happens to population density? Increases. So population density in a traditional or pre-modern society is low and high in a modern industrial society. So the material density or the population density also increases. The third factor is the what he terms as a moral density, which refers to the frequency of social interactions. frequency of social interactions. The frequency with which people interact with each other. You tell me, does that increase or decrease? Who says decrease? Raise your hands. Put it down. Who says it increases? You guys are right. It increases. Let me explain why. When we say frequency of social interactions, please appreciate we are simply not talking about the quality of that interaction. We are not talking about the quality of that relationship. We are simply talking about the number of times that people are interacting with each other. And that is more in a modern society. Reason being, simply the sheer number of people is more in modern society. The density of population is also high in modern society. Technology is more advanced in modern society. Imagine 500 years back, if a person had to interact with others, they would do through pigeons. Send messages through pigeons which will reach in days. Yes or no? And then you had other things like telephones, then mobile phones, now WhatsApp. Yes or no? So you can interact more frequently with a larger audience. Since morning, how many people have you interacted with? Just think. All those good morning messages on WhatsApp, in family chat groups. That is some sort of an interaction enabled by technology. Yes or no? In this classroom, you interact with people. And don't say, no, I just stay aloof and to myself. Nazar milate ho, you just look, or there's an exchange of glances. That's a social interaction. You rub shoulders or dhakka mukhi, that's a social interaction. Yeah? So there are way too many people cloistered in smaller spaces, or you have high population density. Are you with me? So the moral density or the frequency at which people interact also increases. As these three factors change, the society transforms from a pre-modern or traditional society to a modern industrial society. With rise in population density and the frequency of interaction. Okay? Or in Durkheim's terms, with increase in volume, material density and moral density. Combinedly together, the three factors are referred to as dynamic density. Unnecessary terminology, but that's how life is. The three factors combinedly together are referred to as dynamic density. So we can also simply say that as dynamic density increases, pre-modern society is transformed into a modern industrial society. With these changes, or as society, may I proceed? Or you continue writing and then we'll continue. These three factors combinedly together are referred to as dynamic density. So instead of saying with rise in volume, material and moral density, we can also say with increase in dynamic density, society changes from a primitive pre-industrial type to the modern industrial type. With these changes, the nature of division of labor also changes. Is there division of labor in a pre-industrial society? or not? Think logically, forget what Durkheim says. He's also a reasonable guy, so he'll be logical. Is there any division of labor in a pre-industrial society? Yes, there is. Clearly. In other words, even in a pre-industrial society, some people perform certain tasks and other people perform other tasks. Yes or no? But the nature, the kind of division of labor which exists, that changes as the society changes from traditional to modern. Let us see how the division of labor changes. First, of course, one aspect of that division of work is technology. Technology is, you will tell me, all these fill in the blanks are for you to fill. Technology is, in a pre-modern society, is it basic or is it advanced? Basic. And in a modern industrial society, it is advanced. So there is technological improvement, one aspect. So technology is very basic or rudimentary in a traditional society and advanced in a modern industrial society. What about the number of occupations, the different kinds of tasks which exist or jobs one can pursue? Less in which? Modern? In pre-modern society. Imagine see in a rural agrarian economy, a very large chunk of the population is engaged in agriculture or allied activities, right? So a lot of the people are into agriculture. Then there would be some, say, cow herdsmen, some potters, and so on and so forth. In a typical Indian village in pre-modern times, there would be about, say, 30-40 castes. 20, 30, 40 max castes. That is the number of occupations that would be there. But in modern industrial society, how many types of jobs are there? Tens of thousands of different kinds of occupations are there in modern industrial society. Please appreciate. Why? Because with each occupation there is, the level of specialization is high in which society? Modern industrial society. So please appreciate, each person is into a very niche, very narrow sphere of activity. So you are not an engineer. You are a computer engineer or a textiles engineer or a mechanical engineer. They're all different. You are not a computer engineer. You are a software engineer or a hardware engineer. You are not a software engineer. You are either a whatever. Tell me, Java programmer or a C++ programmer or a blah blah programmer. I'm still stuck in that Java C++ era. Okay, I'm sure there are newer things. Are you with me? So this modern society is characterized by super specialization. You would have seen or experienced it firsthand when it comes to, visiting the doctor. Earlier you used to have a GP. Now you don't have GPs, yeah? They're like increasingly becoming rare. So you go to an eye specialist or a heart specialist or an ENT specialist. An eye specialist will tell you, no, you go to the retina specialist. Or the, iris specialist or this or that. Are you with me? So every domain of activity has been narrowed down to a, very specific niche kind of an activity. And that is why we have tens of thousands of occupations literally. So there was a very simple form of division of labor in pre-modern society, and the kind of division of labor which exists in modern society is highly complex. What about the basis of division of labor? What was the basis on which, when we say basis of division of labor, we mean on what basis were activities assigned to different people? What was the basis of division of labor? What is in a primitive or traditional society? You tell me, logically think. The family occupation. So sunar ka beta, kumhar ka beta, and so on and so forth. So one would be the family occupation, or one's what is called ascribed identity, birth-based identity, like caste. What else? Was that the only one? Or any other criteria would be used? Gender, of course. So if you're a female, you would be beloing roti and raising kids and doing certain tasks, like fetching water from the well perhaps. And if you're a male, you'll be performing certain other tasks, like tilling the land and so on and so forth. So it was the basis of division of labor in pre-modern societies or traditional societies were your birth-based identities, family occupation, gender, age. So, adults doing certain tasks, kids performing certain tasks, middle-aged kids performing certain tasks, and so on. Clear? What is the basis of division of labor in modern industrial society? Skills one possesses, the educational background. What else? One's interest. Why you guys here? Mera man nahi hai engineer banne ka. Yes or no? So we've all run away from engineering and come to be a civil servant. One's interest, inclination, ability, skills, formal degrees or education, as also age and gender. So you have way too many choices or possibilities in terms of the tasks one can do. And the division of labor in modern industrial society is highly complex. With that, we somewhat arbitrarily end it for the day, and we continue the topic in the next lecture. I'm here if anybody wants to discuss anything.